Hi everybody, good to see you all, glad to be back. That was a very strange thing last week, but Mercury in retrograde, as some of the people here in Nashville say. Welcome back, glad you're here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my housemates. Now some of you might have thought, what, she only lives with cats? She talks about having housemates and living in community. So, surprise! I do have a wonderful housemate. Her name is Vicky. But first I have to tell you about the ones featured in the pictures. So, anybody out there, say hi, make a comment. Glad you're here. And my two cats. I have North Carolinian cat by the name of Percy, short for persistent. He was the gray one in the picture. And also I have Pyewacket, who came with me from California and is an elder. She is 19 and aging nicely on my bed. Anybody that's ever come to visit me knows that. So, moving on. If you're out there in Facebook Live land, hello, Barbara. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thought I was talking to myself. Don't tell anybody. I might. Glad you're here. And I have to say about my cats, they actually have been with me longer than any housemate, any husband, and all of the above. So for 19 years, I have had a cat. Hi, Debbie. Hey, Julie. Glad you guys are here. Debbie says she's jealous of them. Ooh, wow. Wonderful. So, moving right along, my house about pets. And I told you I was going to give you some sage advice. So, I guess I better get sage here. But first, tell you about my housemate Vicky. Oh wait, I was going to tell you about pets and sometimes how it's great to have them, and sometimes they're great and sometimes better than the two-legged variety, not in my case, but they also can cause serious problems. So it's a double-edged sword, as they say. So example of that is I lived with another person years ago. And I kind of intuitively thought it might not be the best idea since she had never lived with pets. And I had these two guys, and you can't tell a cat what to do. And I'll never forget sitting on the couch with her talking to me, and she looked, because just then Percy jumped on her leather couch with his claws and went. So, as you would imagine, our days together were numbered, and the expression trying to herd cats always has sort of a feeling of, I think I tried to do that many times. Hi Judy, glad you're here. So how many of you, comment to me, have a furry, four-legged housemate? And dog or cat? Let me know. And Debbie has I think, dog by the name of Corabelle. And I don't know about anybody else. So let me know what you got out there while I tell you about Vicky. Vicky is my housemate. Let me tell you a little bit about her. And Barbara has none at the moment, but I'd love a dog, she says. Good to know. You never know when you'll get to meet Barbara from Portland. Julie has two cats. Let's see, we could take a poll, dogs or cats. But wait, I'm talking about Vicky. Vicky is 60. She's an ex-massage therapist. retail manager, elder caregiver currently. She's been married before more than once and has no biological children. And she is a very talented person. She currently is a human design consultant. I'll tell you more about that at another time. It's really a cool system if you don't know about it. So let's see, moving right along. I lived with Vicki at Glenway House, which I did a video about a while back with 5 other housemates. She also took my book, the class on my book, one of the first ones. And a fun fact about us is that I was moving out of the little suite at Glenway, and she broke her ankle and could not put any weight on it. So it was perfect timing, yet again. She moved into the suite that was handicapped accessible, and I moved out like a day before. And this is how much I like Vicki. I actually cleaned the inside of my refrigerator for her. I don't think I've done that for anybody, so that tells you something. Now, one of the things I mentioned was this was not an overnight success. Vicki and I knew each other 5-6 years ago, and we decided, so I thought what I actually did when I was looking at living with somebody else again, I thought about who is it I want to live with, and I made a list, and I got to tell you, that list is not very long through all the things. So I decided I would invite the people to live with me who I wanted to live with me, not just this random act of, gee, I hope the right person shows up. So what I did is I actually invited her and another friend over, said to them, do either one of you interested in living in this part of the house with me? We were in the middle of COVID. It was a year ago, and I just put it out there. Not yes, but they might not want to do it or any of that. I just put it out there, and I waited then. I was bold, and sometimes that's what it takes. So I'm saying be bold. And the things I knew about Vicki, Debbie says, put me on the short list. I don't think Vicki's going anywhere, but that's I'm glad to say. I don't know, maybe after this video she might. So things I knew about her, and this might be helpful to you, is I knew she had done a lot of interpersonal work on herself. I knew that from living with her, and I also knew that she was used to living in a small space. She'd lived in a camper, and she didn't have a lot of stuff. Kind of important. And I really liked her, and we had lots of mutual friends. It wasn't like I saw her all the time. Now, when I was getting ready to do this, I asked Vicki, I said, do you mind telling me your perspective on this? And what she did is she actually wrote an email to me about her perspective on why this works. So I thought rather than editing it for you guys, I would just bear with me. I'm going to read it with enough, hopefully, emphasis that you will not fall asleep. So this is from Vicki. Over the past 12 years, I tried several different iterations of community. For me, this situation is perfect for anyone wanting to live under one roof and have lots of privacy. Of course, in community, privacy is an issue that has to be defined by each member since we each have our different needs in that area. Marianne and I have a pretty good system of doors open versus doors closed to maintain our level of needed quiet and privacy. I'm kind of in a hermit phase of my life right now, so that works best for me is to have my own space, meaning my own entrance, my own kitchen, and the ability to go literally all day without contact. And the beauty of our setup is that when I want to be social, all I have to do is open my door. Plus, there are common areas that are bigger that I can use whenever I want to. Marianne and I have a desire to grow and learn in ways that can only be done with sharing housing with another. I mean, you don't really figure out how totally attached you are to the way you do things until you live with one or more people who do it differently. Yeah. Plus, we communicate. We talk frequently, sometimes about the weather, because we have to coordinate the air conditioning or the heat. We also have impromptu check-ins with each other. Maybe it's 2 minutes, maybe it's 30 minutes, but we have time to catch up. And we have a shared understanding of some of the biggest triggers when sharing space with others. Like Marianne says in her book, temperature, privacy, noise, cleanliness, and as I said earlier, pets. For example, I love to dance. And when I do that, I prefer to have my music loud but with the use of earbuds, I can play my music as loud as I want without it interfering with her day. Well, except when I sing out loud. And lastly, Vicki says, and we really respect each other's vastly different lives and schedules, and yet give each other space and support when needed. Vicki's take on our living arrangement. And for me, I think I've said some of these things, is the timing in our lives came together perfectly. COVID inspired me to get a move on my community, even more so. We didn't know how long it was going to last. It goes on. And we have separate lives. We don't feel like we have to be joined at the hip and do everything together. And we really trust each other. And we talk to each other, but not incessantly. I call them touch and go conversations. And I realized that we were talking about this the other day. It's kind of funny that as we get older, the conversations that we have are quite different than they were in earlier days. They used to be about, what are you wearing? Who are you dating? Things like that. And now it's about, do you have any extra things for your stomach? Or, hey, these bug bites, in my case, they're eating me alive. Or, did you find anything good on TV last night? So those are the kind of things. Then, of course, I don't know about you guys. Let me know. Taking out the garbage was one of these things that my husband and I would have a big thing about, which often is the case. So we don't. We just do it together. We do it together. And the thing about it too is, I don't have to. I can touch base with her every day, kind of like, what's going on? Do you like what's going on with I won't say the news, but the weather? I mean, it's something simple. Whereas when I talk to my friends, it has to be this whole, what did you do last week? Or how are you? And this huge download. Don't know about you guys, but this is wonderful to be able to have someone that I can just sort of touch without having a long exchange necessarily. So I told you I'd give you some sage points, and I've got a few that I use actually when I give talks, and I'm going to share with you. It's place, the place you live, the people that are involved, and the personal tools. And I added preparation for this one, and it's the preparation, for instance, of the place. I had to get that place ready. I needed to make sure to have it so that it would be accessible, and it would be separate, and it would be in a nice part of town. I knew that. Shared laundry, but enough separation. So if you guys are still there, I want you to, in the comments, maybe say if you have any interest, if you're here live, in seeing Vicki's space. If so, say Vicki's space, and I will figure out a way for us to take a tour when my sister comes to visit. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So, yeah, definitely. Look who's here. It's Vicki. Come on in, meet the gang.
What gang is this?
This is my Facebook group. And I'm talking about you.
Oh.
And I just offered a tour of your suite at some point.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
Not right now, I hope.
No. It'll be another time, like when my sister's coming to visit.
Okay.
You know, remember like we did that with Judy, and I like, oh, how about this?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, wave everybody, say hi, send little hearts to Vicki. There you go. Hi, Vicki. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Back to work for you.
Yes.
Right. Thanks. See you later.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that was fun. All right. Okay, Susan. I see you want a tour. I think Barbara does, and some of you have already seen it that came to visit last week. Yeah. So let's see. I got all confused of where I was at. Oh, I was offering for you to see Vicky's space. So if you're live, say Vicky's space, and I'll figure out a way to connect with you in direct message and figure out when we're going to do that. And again, preparation with other people. I told you a little bit about my preparation and what I was looking for, and that she and I had lived with other people quite a bit. I have to say, in my sage points to you, I would not suggest that this is a novice experience by any means. If someone's never lived with anybody else other than maybe their family, I would wonder if that's the best match. But that's a whole nother video that I can do. And again, write down the criteria of the people that you're looking for. It might be somebody like you, and it might be someone who compliments you. Yeah. So Debbie, Jeanette are also people that want to see Vicky's space. Very good, very good. And so again, very important that you know yourself and what works for you. You know, because a lot of times there might be people that you could live in or around, but you never thought about it. But write down that criteria. And if you don't have a Vicky in your life that has been hanging around and you've lived with before possibly, I'm going to give you a mini lesson. And that would be spend time getting to know that person. I mean, real time. Basics. Cook together. Do a project together. Go on a short trip together. Have multiple meetings. And I would suggest going to their home, and they come to yours. You don't marry a person after one meeting. So this is enough like that I would suggest multiple times that you get together. But that's a whole different video that I would be glad to do for you. And again, another opportunity for you to let me know. I have a handout, I guess it is, that I could send to you if you want it, about how to find others. It's some various tips. And if you're interested in that because you're interested in finding other people to live in and around, let me know. Say, handout. Send me a handout. And lastly, personal tools. It's not a toolbox, but it kind of is, and that would be communication. What is your styles? What triggers you? What are you bringing with you from your family of origin that might not be the best things as far as communication? Thanks, Susan. I'll be glad to send that to you. And Judy too. Right, Barbara too. I don't think it's in my book, Barbara. And lastly, as part of personal tools, I got some bad news for you guys. Conflict will happen. There will be things that go wrong. I don't care what kind of relationship you have. And I'm sure, so that's just a given. A conflict will occur, misunderstandings. And I'm sure you're about ready to say, hey, you guys look like sweetness and light, you and Vicki. No, we had a misunderstanding that we needed to work through, and we did. It was through an email exchange, some time and then sitting down in person. Definitely. So, even the best of relationships. So, what am I doing now? Okay. And another thing that as I was thinking about this, through the years that I have been Women for Living in Community and encouraged women to live in community, people live in community as we age, and all the alternatives, that in the last 15 years, there's not a lot more. So I encourage us all to do our own work. And many people would say to me, Marianne, I think you need to do a matching service. If I had a dime for all of those times, I'd be really rich. But I intuitively knew, as an ex-recruiter in high tech, I'd already matched people. I didn't want to do that anymore. And through the years, there's been many attempts at that, and they were not always successful. I think the only one that has really been successful is something that I put in the description for you, and that is Silver Nest. And it matches women over 50, and they got $2 million of funding. So clearly someone thought it was a very lucrative and good idea. And the main thing that I realized was you have to have critical mass in a particular geographic area for it to really work. You can't just say, okay, I want to live in Portland. Is there anybody there that I can live with? If there's nobody in the database from Portland, other than Barbara, of course. And the last thing I'm going to say before my pet peeve is something I say in my book. Why? Why is this of interest to you? Why is living in community and living in and around others important to you? Know your why, write it down, and date it. So when you're in the middle of the throes of this, you remember your motivation. And the pet peeve. My pet peeve, because I started out with pets, and that is, my dad was a semantics professor. I apologize, but calling something what it is important to me. So, when I was in college, I had roommates. They were in the same room with me. Sometimes it wasn't pleasant. But I share a house with somebody now. So she is my housemate. So I suggest calling it a housemate. And now, unfortunately, we reached the end of the time for me to now talk about next week. So next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about how television and sitcoms, etc., have influenced alternative housing models. And beyond the Golden Girls, some of you might know the ones that I might mention. And if you're old enough, one of them was The Honeymooners, where people lived in an apartment building. So, again, to alternative housing models. Stay tuned for that. And in case you wonder, I don't know if people say to you, what is the community and what is it, aging in community, what is that? Well, you're in luck. I am doing a talk sponsored by the Fellowship of Intentional Communities on October 21st. I put the link somewhere here. And you can register for it, October 21st. Fellowship of Intentional Communities, and it's called Alternative Housing Models for Aging in Community, I think. So I'll go over all that. And I just recently wrote a blog, for those of you that subscribe to my website, about the women who took my class last year and have since stayed in communication, and some of them came to my house. One drove all the way from Arkansas, one drove from Ohio. I mean, I'd love for you to be introduced to them. And actually, one of them is on this video, is on this call. Two of them are. Oh my God, Julie and Judy. So you are featured this month. And I look forward to seeing you next week. We'll talk about the influence of some of the television programs on alternative housing models. And remember what I say, it's about connection, information, that's what we're doing. And yeah, you got to take action. Do something, like those women that took my class. So, I'm so glad you all been here. I really appreciate it, and I will orchestrate, as promised, the best I can to let you meet and see Vicky's space. Bye, everybody.